Our story continues, now moving from the early civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt to a period where empires began to emerge. These empires, unlike anything the world had seen before, were to shape human culture, governance, and ideology for millennia to come. As we journey into the rise of empires, we'll witness the spread of ideas that would change the course of history. Let's begin in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where powerful city-states like Uruk, Lagash, and Babylon rose to prominence. In this land of rivers and fertile soil, where the Tigris and Euphrates met, the first empires began to form. One of the earliest and most famous empires was that of Sargon of Akkad, who unified the various Sumerian city-states under one rule around 2334 BCE. This was the first true empire, where a single ruler controlled vast territories and people of different cultures. Sargon's empire, though short-lived, paved the way for future empires. It was in Babylon, under the reign of King Hammurabi, that we see the first written code of laws, the famous Code of Hammurabi. This legal framework not only established justice in the Babylonian Empire, but also laid the foundations for legal systems in many future empires. As we look west, we find Egypt, where the pharaohs of the New Kingdom expanded their influence, creating one of the most powerful empires in the ancient world. The Egyptians were masters of military conquest, and their empire stretched from Nubia in the south to the lands of the Levant in the north. But Egypt was not just about conquest. It was also about the spread of culture, religion, and technology. The Egyptians' achievements in architecture, medicine, and the arts were monumental and influenced neighboring civilizations for centuries. Moving further west, we enter the world of the ancient Greeks, whose ideas, philosophies, and democracy would shape much of the Western world. After the fall of the Mycenaean civilization, Greece entered a period of relative darkness. But by the 8th century BCE, city-states like Athens and Sparta began to flourish. In Athens, the concept of democracy was born, and the idea of citizens ruling over their own city became a model for future governments. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the foundations for Western thought and science, shaping ideas about ethics, politics, and the nature of reality. Across the Aegean Sea, the Persian Empire was rising to power. Founded by Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BCE, the Persian Empire stretched from the Mediterranean to the Indus River, making it the largest empire the world had ever seen at the time. The Persians were known for their tolerance of different cultures and religions, and their system of governance was based on a decentralized approach, allowing local rulers to maintain control over their regions while paying tribute to the emperor. The Persians were soon challenged by the Greeks. In the wars between these two great powers, known as the Greco-Persian Wars, would become some of the most famous conflicts in ancient history. The Greek city-states, particularly Athens and Sparta, united to repel the Persian invasions, culminating in the famous battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. But it was not only warfare that spread ideas. As we move further east, we see the rise of the Maurya Empire in India. Under the rule of Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE, the Mauryan Empire reached its greatest extent, stretching across most of the Indian subcontinent. Ashoka, who initially sought military conquest, experienced a profound transformation after the bloody Kalinga War, leading him to embrace Buddhism and promote peace and nonviolence. He spread the teachings of the Buddha throughout his empire, sending missionaries as far as Sri Lanka and Central Asia, thus spreading the ideals of Buddhism far and wide. To the south, the Roman Republic was growing in power. Founded in 509 BCE, Rome would go on to become one of the most influential empires in world history. The Romans were known for their military prowess, their engineering feats, and their legal system. The Roman Republic, though initially a small city-state, expanded through Italy and eventually across much of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Rome's expansion was not only military, but also cultural, as the Romans spread their language, laws, and technology throughout their empire. As the Romans conquered new territories, they adopted and adapted the ideas and cultures of the people they conquered, creating a syncretic civilization that combined elements of Greek philosophy, Egyptian religion, Persian governance, and more. The Romans believed in the concept of Pax Romana, the Roman peace, which allowed trade, culture, and ideas to flow freely throughout their empire. At the same time, the rise of the Silk Road in China facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas between the East and the West. The Han Dynasty, which ruled China from 206 BCE to 220 CE, saw the establishment of the Silk Road, a network of trade routes that connected China to Central Asia, India, and the Mediterranean. Along with silk, spices, and other goods, the Silk Road also facilitated the exchange of ideas, such as Buddhism, which traveled from India to China and beyond. The rise of empires and the spread of ideas marked a turning point in human history. These empires, from the Persians to the Romans to the Chinese, created networks of communication, trade, and governance that laid the foundations for the modern world. They facilitated the movement of people, goods, and ideas, and in doing so, shaped a development of civilization as we know it. As we continue our journey through time, we'll witness the fall of empires and the rise of new ones. But for now, we focus on the empires that defined the ancient world and the ideas that continue to influence our lives today. From the political systems of Greece and Rome to the religious and philosophical teachings of India and China, the legacy of these early empires is still felt across the globe.